Hi, this is Julie Cohen, and I'm speaking with Cheryl Rice, speaker, executive coach, and author of Where Have I Been All My Life for 3 minutes max. Cheryl, can you tell me what is an inner critic?
Absolutely, Julie. An inner critic is a voice inside of us that is negative, harsh, and judgmental, and as the term suggests, critical of who we are. And it's often developed in childhood from the messages we received from our earliest caregivers, including people who raised us, such as our parents, sometimes well-meaning teachers, coaches, religious institutions, and of course, the media.
Got it. So how does this inner critic impact us?
Great question, and an important one. The inner critic really impacts us in two primary ways. The first way it impacts us is, for many people, if we listen to the inner critic, it will hold us back. For instance, I've worked with many clients who have an inner critic when it comes to taking risks, or going for a new promotion, or starting a second job, or even becoming head of the PTA, a voice that tells them they're too old, they're not smart enough, they don't have enough experience, they talk too loud, whatever that voice is. And if we listen to it, it keeps us from playing big in the world. And the other negative impact of the inner critic, again, if we listen to it, is that it makes us feel really crummy about ourselves. And that just negative affect internally can also lead, if not checked, to some real significant issues in terms of anxiety and depression if we're really living with the voice of the inner critic as the predominant voice that we're listening to. It holds us back and it makes us feel lousy. And again, that can become a negative cycle that can be hard to get out of.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what would be one thing to do to lessen or eliminate our inner critic?
Great question. Well, let me tell you, this is a picture of my inner critic, and it's a ruler. Okay, so picture this ruler, Julie, with a crown, like a king's crown on its head. And so one of the things, meaning that for me, my inner critic, when it shows up, is always telling me I don't measure up, I'm not enough. And the crown, if you can picture a crown on this, is with that real voice of authority that says, I'll never be enough, and a voice of comparison to other people. So I've learned, and this is my tip for people, one thing they can do, as silly as it sounds, it can be so powerful, Julie, is take a moment, grab a crayon or a magic marker, and actually draw an image of what your inner critic looks like and what it says. And then if you can get a name for it, it helps, because as soon as you do that, as soon as you identify your inner critic, you've gained a moment of mastery over it, and you can start dialoguing with the critic, and you can just recognize the voice. So the first thing, in fact, Mr. Rogers says, if we can mention it, we can master it. So find out what your inner critic is about, give it a name, and if you have a dear friend, share it. And once you've shared it, you've articulated it, you've given yourself some space, you have the path to freedom from the inner critic.
Well, thank you, Cheryl Rice, for sharing your expertise and insight for 3 minutes max.
Thank you, Julie.